I'm Vinny Politan. We've got breaking news tonight. Put on your seatbelts. Get ready. You're not going to believe it. You are not going to believe it, folks. In the biggest case that we're tracking across the country, out in Moscow, Idaho, the mass murder of those 4 1,000% innocent college students from the university. The defendant, we talked a little bit before last week about, oh, they may have an alibi, we think they may have. No. Today they file an actual alibi, filing where he was at the time of the murders. Now, understand that an alibi is, to me, anyone who's innocent, right? Not anyone, but I would say 98% of people who are wrongfully accused are factually innocent should be able to provide an alibi. Like, it couldn't have been me because I was doing X, Y, and Z, and A, B, and C can tell you about that, or this video can tell you about, like the alibi takes you away from the scene of the crime. It puts you somewhere else. It makes it impossible for you to have committed the crime, right? Every episode of Law & Order, the old show, the original Law & Order, that's the first thing we know. Does he have an alibi? Every time they came across a suspect, did he have an alibi? Did he have an alibi? Does the alibi check out, right? And if the alibi checks out, they move on to the next suspect. So, time for me to reveal what this alibi is. Again, you're not going to believe it. Take a look. Mr. accused murderer has long had a habit of going for drives alone. Often, he would go for drives at night. He did so late on November 12th and into November 13th, 2022. The accused mass murderer is not claiming to be at a specific location at a specific time. At this time, there's not a specific witness to say precisely where the accused mass murderer was at each moment of the hours between late night November 12th, 2022 and early morning November 13th, 2022. He was out driving during the late night and early morning hours of November 12th to 13th of 2022. All night, just driving. Wow. Let me bring in Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter, joining us on the phone with all these breaking details on her night off. Chanley, great to speak with you. Thank you for joining us. I'm looking at this alibi, and it almost strikes me as a bit of an admission here, Chanley.
Absolutely, Vinny. This is huge. We know the evidence that prosecutors have, not only following his cell phone the night of the murders, Vinny, but his white Hyundai Elantra along the path around the times of the murders. And now he's admitting to being out there driving around, Vinny. We've been on the ground there. I've been to all of those locations on the scene. We showed you where he was and the path that he allegedly took. So for him to admit this is it's huge for prosecutors. So this motion where he does reveal part of an alibi is actually an objection to a state's motion to compel him to provide an alibi, because there's a time limit in Idaho where alibi is an affirmative defense. You have to let the prosecutors know within a certain amount of time, a specific date, time, who you were with, corroborating witnesses to that alibi. So he's trying to get around that by saying, well, I can't really tell you exactly where I was on the night, but I have a habit of driving around the night. And he says in this motion that corroboration of him not being at the crime scene may come through the cross-examination of state witnesses, and he can't be more specific about what possible witnesses may say or what they won't say. He also says corroboration of not being there may be brought through expert witnesses of his own, Vinny. So, again, real amorphous, but what a huge admission that he, yes, on the night of the murders, was out driving around.
So you got him in the car that night, all night, right? Without a witness, so he's 1,000% by himself, not with someone else, not calling up a family member or a friend or going to a drive-through. See, that's the thing. Like, if you're out all night, aren't you gonna get a little hungry or something if you're just out for a casual drive?
And he happens to Yeah, and to happen to turn off his phone within a time range that his car, Vinny, is picked up on King Road. We know that from the affidavit, making multiple passes back and forth and then allegedly speeding away. And then his phone comes back on at an area a little bit south of town. And nobody's with him. He is driving alone. And also, then remember what the affidavit said, that his phone is also pinging the next morning at the crime scene. And then also we know that there's no driving around at night after the murders in that area. He doesn't return to that area. So just saying.
So to establish this alibi, it seems he might have to testify to say where he was, or just go by. This is like an alibi that's not quite an alibi because it doesn't necessarily put him somewhere else, right? It's much more vague that he's just out driving in the car, no one to witness and no specific places. No, he's not claiming to be at a specific location at a specific time, and there's not a specific witness. So it's a very unspecific alibi. Am I reading that right, Chanley?
You're exactly right, Vinny. So, but just the fact that he places himself, maybe, was he not driving his own car? Because we have his own car at the murder scene on surveillance video around the times of the murder. So maybe he wasn't driving his own car. Maybe they'll challenge the cell phone data with their own expert. Maybe that's the expert they're referring to in this, because of, the tower, attack the towers, covering a larger space than what it is. Who knows, Vinny? But this is definitely a big reveal.
All right, he's got a long habit of these drives, so maybe there's evidence of him doing it many other times. That I don't know. But Chanley, appreciate everyone at home. You must know, Chanley.
12 previous times.
What's that?
The affidavit said 12 previous times. Remember, at the around the crime scene.
That's right.
Times, Vinny, he didn't turn off his cell phone. This time he turned off his cell phone.
So he does have a habit of doing these drives, but he doesn't have the habit of turning off the cell phone for the drives. Chanley, great to speak with you, and everyone at home again. Remember, Chanley, this is her day off, and she's helping us out so much. We appreciate it. Now, as Chanley mentioned, she's been out there, she's been on the ground, and she retraced all these movements, went through that affidavit, the evidence prosecutors say they have, piece by piece. Let's take a look.
The probable cause affidavit in the case against the accused killer of 4 University of Idaho students pieces together the movements of the suspect vehicle and coordinating cell phone location data beginning in the early morning hours of November 13th. At 2:42 a.m., the affidavit alleges that Bryan Kohberger's phone places him likely at his apartment on the WSU campus, where he was a PhD student studying and teaching criminology. At 2:44 a.m., Kohberger's vehicle and cell phone are on the move. Police say his white Hyundai Elantra is spotted on WSU surveillance cameras traveling north on Nevada Street at Stadium Way. According to the affidavit, it was here in this area of the WSU campus where surveillance video and Kohberger's cell phone placed him here around 2:47 a.m. According to the affidavit, he spent several minutes in this area where he allegedly turned off his cell phone before heading out of town toward Moscow, Idaho. By 2:53 a.m., Kohberger's white Hyundai Elantra is observed heading in the direction of Moscow, Idaho. At 3:26 a.m., the affidavit then places Kohberger's vehicle, now in the town of Moscow, in this residential neighborhood on Indian Hills Drive. This happens to be a road directly overlooking the Moscow Police Department. The Elantra is picked up on surveillance video moving west past the 700 block of Indian Hills. At 3:28 a.m., video shows the vehicle on Steiner Avenue at Highway 95 as it made its way towards the King Road neighborhood where the victims lived. Then from 3:29 a.m. to 4:20 a.m., the suspect vehicle, the white Hyundai Elantra, is observed multiple times on video passing by 1122 King Road during the alleged time of the murders before being seen on video speeding away on Walenta Drive. The probable cause affidavit states that the car likely exited the neighborhood at Palouse River Drive and Conestoga Drive, a road that eventually leads to Pullman, Washington. About 2 hours after he allegedly turned off his cell phone, police say Kohberger turned it back on here near Blaine, Idaho. It's about 10 to 15 minutes south of Moscow, a rural community off Highway 95, and it has its own cell tower. According to the affidavit, from 4:50 a.m. to 5:26 a.m., Kohberger's phone movements show him allegedly moving south towards Genesee, Idaho, and west towards Uniontown, Washington. Kohberger may have taken a well-known back road called Thorn Creek Road at this point in his route towards his apartment. These are all very isolated roads, but Thorn Creek Road is known to be even more desolate. Police allege Kohberger eventually made his drive back into Pullman, Washington from the quiet road of Johnson, where his vehicle was picked up on this security camera, the first time a camera captured his Hyundai after the murders were committed. By 5:30 a.m., police tracked the movements of Kohberger's cell phone and vehicle back to his apartment.
So there's the evidence that prosecutors say they have, right? Tracking the white Hyundai Elantra, and his alibi is that he's out for a drive that night. What does this mean? Let's bring the think tank. Join us tonight in Atlanta, Georgia, criminal defense attorney Eklund Mercy. Also with us in Phoenix, Arizona, the attorney who represented Jodi Arias, Kirk Nurmi, and in Washington, D.C., the attorney who represented Johnny Depp in his defamation case, won the case, and fellow of the American College of Trial Lawyers, Ben Chu, is with us. And before I ask a question, Ben, Kirk, you and Ben are going at it with the jackets tonight. Amazing job. Amazing job.
Right. We got to step it up, Vinny.
Exactly. All right. Let me start with Eklund Mercy, though. Eklund, is this an alibi or an admission? If your alibi is putting yourself in the white Hyundai Elantra, and that's how they track down this killer through the videos and the cell phone in the car, moving with the car, then the cell phone's turned off, and then the car is seen at the scene, then speeding away. What's going on here?
This is one of those cases in which it's hurry up and prove it prosecution. You want the prosecution to prove their case. They're having to, carry their burden. The officers did a great job with being very detailed, and the prosecutor was being very detailed in the timing and literally setting it up for an alibi. So if he doesn't give one, the only thing that he can do is literally poke holes in the prosecution's argument. They did a really good job of actually placing the car. Now it's going to be, literally, they probably did not give him an offer. So there's no pleading in this case. So the only option is to go to trial. At this point, you just force the prosecution to prove their burden.
So Kirk, am I missing something here? If your alibi puts you in the white Hyundai Elantra, and it's the white Hyundai Elantra that's like circling around the crime scene and speeding away from the crime scene, is this really an alibi that I was going for a drive by myself to no specific location at no specific time with no specific independent witnesses?
No, as I was reading along there, I said this is more of an admission than an alibi. And it made me, look, the responsibility of a criminal defense attorney in a capital case, they're immense and intense. But the number one goal of that criminal defense attorney in that representation of death penalty case is to preserve their client's life. And I don't see how this does that. This doesn't really constitute an alibi to me. It's more of an admission that some of the state's evidence is accurate. It doesn't really make any sense to me. So, if their focus should be on things that save his life, and things like this, these partial admissions, they just go further because you extrapolate this out and say he's got this habit of doing this. Well, the state can come back and say, look, he was stalking, he was preying, he was looking for victims, he found the victim. This makes it look all the worse in terms of the preservation of his life when you get to that sentencing phase. So to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense what's going on here for Mr. Kohberger's attorneys.
Yeah, Ben, Kirk makes a great point here talking about has a long habit of going for drives. Yeah, all the drives that were done driving around and near the scene of the mass murder, before the mass murder, seems to prove premeditation and planning more than, hey, I just go for drives.
Yeah, Vinny, it reminds me of that expression, I was born at night, but it wasn't last night. I mean, this seems to be a non-alibi alibi.
There you go. All right. Ben Chu, Kirk Dermy, Eklund Mercy, they're with us the whole hour.